Hello world, curses and madness be upon you all my friends. I am Euclidean Vision, the emotional support, here today to share with you my proposal for improving Overwatch 2's talent trees. As we should know, what was shown off at BlizzCon wasn't a finished product, but had to be workable and seemingly cohesive for their demo purposes. And with the news that they have some other progression systems in the works, what I'm presenting today is hopefully something they're working towards anyway. Because what kind of fucking monster gives Mei a talent tree and doesn't give her a fucking ice wall talent? I'm definitely making this video because these are kind of shit. To be honest, despite my understanding that these are a work in progress. And the fact that Blizzard has a lot more work to do actually making these compared to me just coming up with ideas. But a further progression system on top of this meager showing thus far is either unlikely to be as expansive or as interesting as talents could be, or will just give you another way to equip other talents, or kind of will end up just being far more basic in nature. And so the old adage of quality over quantity arises, and I think that means we have to look at the talent trees themselves. That all being said, I do have an idea for one further progression system in the form of weapon skin perks that I'll have a video on shortly, with the basic idea being more about a change in playstyle rather than just a straight out buff, through sacrificing power in certain areas of your kit in order to highlight or utterly change others. But to save jumping the gun, let's climb this damn tree, shall we? So, this is my talent tree for Mei. If you want to just pause and read through it for yourself, feel free. I'm just going to go through and explain all the talents I and some others have come up with here, maybe expand on some of them a bit if they need a bit more explanation, and then present a few builds for you just to see how much more scope and variety something like this can offer compared to the lackluster showings thus far. And so starting off, I went with Mei, as we've seen elements Blizzard want to use already, but they also missed that fucking ice wall. So I thought she was a good place to start expanding on their ideas into some more interesting options. And so as you can see, as with many actual skill or talent trees, we have a few distinct branches that you can follow to accentuate a certain element of your kit or to enable a certain playstyle. I've tried to fit all the Overwatch heroes into 4 branches overall, choosing 1 talent per tier. And as I see with Mei, her branches focus predominantly on her Endothermic Blaster, Cryo Freeze, Ice Wall, and Blizzard respectively. But of course, as we go through these, you'll hopefully find ways to mix elements of these different branches to create new synergies and totally unique playstyles. And so at level 1, you'll have the choice of following the Ice Queen branch and taking Shatter, something we've already seen in Overwatch 2, frozen enemies shatter on death for AoE damage. Nice and simple. Then if you follow the Cryogenicist branch, you can use Icecraft, use Ice Wall while in Ice Block, so there's a bit more of a defensive talent there. Joining the Night's Watch at level 1 opens you up to Bitter Chill. Ice Wall slows enemies in an area around it, so again a bit more defensive. And then finally on to Heroine of the Storm, Frozone. Allies gain a speed boost anywhere that ice touches the environment. So at this point, there's already far more choice initially, far more variety initially, than what we've been shown thus far. Just giving you more choice per level, I think, is far more interesting, and gives you far more scope across your leveling time. So on to the next tier, level 5, giving you the choice of Great Wall, shoot your Ice Wall with primary fire to expand the wall and increase your defensive capabilities there. Cold Snap, freeze all nearby enemies when leaving Ice Block, that's one we've seen before. Glass Elevator, Ice Wall propels Mei upwards when cast underneath her. And another one we've seen before, Hypothermia. Blizzard insta-kills frozen enemies below 200 health. So already you should be seeing some kind of synergies between things like Bitter Chill and Great Wall, for instance. And these will only start to build up more and more as we move on to the next level. Level 10 gives you the choice of another pre-existing one, Frostbite, frozen enemies take more damage. The Snowball effect, which we've seen before as well, move while in Ice Block or Ice Ball, knocking enemies down. Then on to one of my own creation, Superfluid, Mei can move through her Ice Wall, and Blizzard Entertainment, Blizzard slowly draws enemies towards its centre. So obviously there's the pre-existing combo of Snowball effect and Cold Snap. Blizzard Entertainment is going to make Hypothermia probably a little bit better or a little bit more reliable. And obviously Hypothermia already combos with Frostbite as well, so there's already a few pretty good pre-existing synergies in Mei's kit, but as we go further you'll see how much more expansive some of those pre-existing ones and some of these new ones can be as well. So on to level 15, Stalactite. Icicles that impact the environment explode on reload, so giving you much more AoE damage here. Then on to Avalanche, which will combo quite nicely with Glass Elevator. Using Ice Block at a height causes Mei to crash to the ground, rooting all enemies in an AoE. But then a totally different use for that Ice Wall, and now our watch is ended. Cancelling the Ice Wall will detonate the wall for a knockback AoE. So this level 15, evidently, as the way I've put it together, is much more focused on AoE damage, however you want to go for it. And especially then, as we come to the last one, another pre-existing one, Polar Vortex. Blizzard covers a huge area and ignores line of sight. So, at level 15, you could get quite a big AoE power spike there. That's kind of nice. And obviously, as you can see, things like Avalanche combos with Glass Elevator, and now our watch is ended combos with like Snowball Effect if you want to go for a huge sort of like crowd control force movement build. But then moving on to level 20, I think this is more of almost like a tanking power spike level here. Absolute Zero. Icicle headshots disable the enemy's weapon briefly, just like in 0 Hour. Jacqueline Frost. Leaving Ice Block leaves behind an ice decoy of Mei that draws enemy fire, so comboing that with something like Cold Snap will basically mean that nobody is shooting at your team for a few seconds. That's potentially pretty powerful. And so on to Crystalline. Using Ice Block or Ice Wall near allies gives them temporary ice armor. And Diamond Dust. Each section of Ice Wall and each Ice Block within Blizzard's AoE adds stacking extra damage to Blizzard. That'll make a bit more sense when we get another level or two onwards now, you'll see. Level 25, Popsicle. Headshots with Icicle knock enemies back and impale them to walls. So you could take either one of Popsicle or Absolute Zero and your Icicle has suddenly gained like a huge CC power spike. And if you just want to be an absolute pain, you can just take both. And if you're really good at those Icicle headshots, you can just shut down what anybody's doing. That's almost like the start of a build in itself. But carrying on with the other talents. Eco Point. Ice Block extends Ice Wall to your current position within a limited range. So using Ice Block just makes Ice Wall longer. Yeah, makes sense? Snowflake. Shoot your wall with icicles to produce an AoE spiked cone that damages multiple enemies. So this is one of the first ones I came up with when I raged out at the fact that Mei had no Ice Wall talents. I was like, it's one of the most versatile pieces of her kit that you can do so much to. It stays on the field, you can do stuff to it, and you haven't even done anything. So yeah, this talent was sort of part of the inspiration for me getting to this talent tree. And then the final one on level 25, made by my good friend Budget Gambit, Nucleation. Ally projectiles passing through Blizzard's AoE increase in size and damage. And so now that you've seen the Eco Point talent, the Diamond Dust talent might start making a little bit more sense, as using Ice Block to extend your Ice Wall increases the amount of sections of Ice Wall, therefore increasing the amount of extra damage over time that's added to Diamond Dust. And we'll come back to that one shortly, but first let's just do this final level, which I hadn't meant to do. I meant to do 6 level tiers, but in going up to level 30 I just came up with 7. So here we go. The first one, and this one's so fun, I think this one's ridiculous. Snowball Fight. Snowball replicates your chosen primary or alternate fire from over your shoulder at probably like a 50% effectiveness or something. So you're essentially dual wielding as Mei. You could add like a slight delay between snowballs like icicles and Mei's, so you're almost shooting a double shot like Sigma does, which could be really useful to combo with something like Snowflake, where if you can hit your wall with 2 separate icicles sequentially, like very quickly, you can get 2 AoE spike cones very quickly and sequentially. So yeah, that one's really fun. That's one of my favourite ones. I really like that. I would love to see more of Snowball actually like taking part in the fight. That'd be great. But to finish level 30, Statuesque. Frozen enemies leave behind an ice block on death, which again you might see combos well with Diamond Dust and with some other talents as we go back through. Glacial Shift. Hold E, so your Ice Wall button, to project an ice wedge ahead of you that instantly freezes enemies and leaves behind a curved wall. And Sheer Cold. Blizzard destroys any enemy projectiles that try to pass through it. So that's the entire talent tree. As I've mentioned slowly as we've gone along, there are some certain elements of the tree that you might see are comboing with each other quite well. As I mentioned, Diamond Dust. You can obviously combo Diamond Dust with Eco Point, Statuesque, Polar Vortex, Frostbite, or maybe even like Snowball Effect, or Super Fluid could actually be quite useful in that situation if you want to have Ice Wall up in Blizzard quite a lot. Hypothermia would be really good with that, or even Cold Snap to increase the speed of your freezing to gain just all that extra damage. The more enemies you damage, the more enemies you kill, the more ice blocks are there, the more that you use Ice Block to extend your Ice Wall. If that combos with Snowball Effect to have a moving section of wall, then your Blizzard, because of Diamond Dust, is going to be doing just insane amounts of damage. Like, you can also combo that with Shatter or something, so that you get the extra damage popping out every time that you get an Ice Block on the field. So that build obviously is very centered around buffing up Blizzard, which you could do by following the Heroine of the Storm branch just all the way straight down. That's one then insanely powerful Blizzard. But you can make it more powerful in different ways. You can make Blizzard actually like a damage-centric ult, which could be quite interesting. Like, obviously you can make it more of a tank ult if you take, say, Sheer Cold, or even using Statuesque can really help you increase the amount of cover that you have to take at least. You could then, as I mentioned earlier, go with more of an AoE build, whether you center on, say, Cold Snap and Snowball Effect, or Glass Elevator and Avalanche, so to get essentially Hammond's Ground Pound. Obviously, as I said, level 15 has tons of AoE damage in it. Like, you could take And Now Our Watch is Ended, you could then combo that with Snowflake later on, so you've got, once you put your wall up, you've got AoE damage for days. As I mentioned with the tanking stuff, you could combo Jacqueline Frost with Statuesque, so that when an ice block expires, frozen enemies leave behind decoys. That would be insane. I didn't even realise that that could be an organic combination there. That's pretty cool. You can obviously go Super CC May by taking like Popsicle and Absolute Zero and Snowball Fight, so that just icicles for days. Combo that maybe with Snowflake in some way, which you can also combo with Great Wall to expand the AoE of your Snowflake attack. Obviously, taking things just like Frostbite and Shatter with Snowball Fight are going to be pretty effective. If you're much more focused in your primary fires when you play May, Frozone, even though it's in the Blizzard tree, allies gain speed boost anywhere ice touches the environment. I only mean it to apply to her primary fire and Blizzard, but you could take that all the way up to any icicles that hit the environment, leave like a slight speed AoE around it, or they slow enemies. Ice Wall and Ice Block also leave ice on the ground for allies to speed boost from. There's tons of combos in here, like Bitter Chill, I only just noticed that one. That actually combos really well with And Now Our Watch is Ended. If you can slow enemies all around your wall, it makes the wall detonation then much more powerful. If that combos with Glacial Shift, I mean, it should organically. Like, I'm only noticing some of these organic combinations now. This is great. Like, comboing Bitter Chill with Glacial Shift allows you to insta-freeze anything in front of you, and then slow it. And then, theoretically, if you can destroy Glacial Shift, that's another combo for And Now Our Watch is Ended. If you can somehow use Glacial Shift with Glass Elevator, so that whenever you use it, it knocks you into the air, or at least if you aim it down, it will knock you straight into the air, you then have something to combo with Avalanche, and maybe Cold Snap, which you then can't have if you have Glass Elevator. But yeah, there's so many like combos here. There's so much more expansion, so much more variety, and even in your level gaps, like when you just earn a tier, so at level 1, there's already double the choice that you had in the Overwatch 2 demo. And obviously, as you can see, the further you go along, you end up with over 3 times the amount of talents in about the sort of same level timing. Like, obviously, Blizzard can make you need way more experience if you're going to be using a talent tree like this, because only 30 levels to get up to that. Like, those levels better be slow. So, ultimately, that's all I kind of really wanted to show off. The fact that the more expansive you make it, the more fun it's going to be for everybody. And bringing us into a talent system with a weak form of sort of what XCOM does. Like, if they made you sort of lock in your choices, I think that could be a little bit more interesting, but then you'd probably want ways, like, sort of a cheap and efficient way to sort of respec, maybe. But, yeah, it's things like expanding on the way that you unlock talents, or how many talents you have, how they all synergize, how many levels you've got to progress through to get more. This can be expanded upon so easily that I'm surprised that it was shown off in the state that it was. Like, between me, Blizzard, and like one or two other people, we've come up with so much more. Basing off what Blizzard were initially going for. Like, some of these obviously have tried to combo with Blizzard's pre-existing talents, which, as I noticed, like, there are some nice synergies in there, at least in Maze Kit, definitely initially. But how much more fun is this, right? Like, how much more fun, one, are some of the talents, and two, is, like, the gaining and amalgamation of talents. Like, again, all I was sort of trying to prove is that you could go up to this level, Blizzard, and it would be better. So please do it. Obviously, I doubt Blizzard are listening to me. If you like my ideas, hey, see if we can get Blizzard to listen to me. Do you know? Because I've got more ideas, and there will be more coming soon. As mentioned, the next video that I'm going to release will be on weapon skin perks, and I'll again be looking at May, and looking at how the different weapon skin perks I've come up with would be able to combo back with the talent tree, and how sort of taking a certain weapon skin would make you maybe want to build the tree in a more certain way. So, with that, I've been Euclidean Vision, the emotional support. That was my talent tree for May. There are more coming, and I hope Blizzard sort of takes note and makes theirs better in response to this, at least. Or hey, if you want to hire me to make them all and make them better, that'd be fine too. If your story writer also needs an editor, so I'd be happy to do that too. I'd be happy to do a lot of things for you, Blizzard. Like, just be better. Just be better, please. To you, glorious viewer, you don't need to be any better. Just stay here with me and stay chilling. Let me know down in the comments what you think of the tree, if you have any improvements that you can suggest, any improvements to talents, or the layout of the tree itself to allow for more synergies, and hopefully, again, Blizzard listens to us. That would be really fucking sweet. So, take care of yourselves, teammates, and may the glorious light of Bestial shine within you. Bye-bye.